Steve Jensen is a man without a prayer. So, hoping to evoke the gods of an ancient fishing culture over 3,000 years old, he decides to build an Inuit Inukshuk, a traditional stone sculpture or prayer tower, in an effort to summon the mighty sea-run Arctic char known to swim these waters. Steve is on the shore of the Ekaluk River, high above the Arctic Circle in the Canadian territory of Nunavut. It is here that a run of over 80,000 char, some truly massive in size, swim from the freezing waters of Wellington Bay in the Arctic Ocean inland to Ferguson Lake to spawn and spend the winter. And it is here that Steve hopes to land one of these trophy fish on his fly rod, a feat that so far has evaded him for several days. But this is not surprising. The window of opportunity on the Ekaluk is a mere 2 weeks, and timing is everything. The Inuits have known for centuries that the first challenge in catching the Aqualakpik is being ready at the river when the fish arrive. But there is power in this primeval land, and as Steve's Inukshuk rises from the frozen tundra, he senses a life force in the river behind him. The char are swimming through. The time is here. Within seconds, Steve is hooked up to a mighty fish, and an ancestral battle begins. A big char is powerful beyond belief, and Steve is by himself, attempting to both photograph and fight the fish as it surges up and down the river.
I've hooked into a very large fish. I don't have a headset. I don't have anyone to film this, so I'm holding it in my hand. I saw this fish from up above and cast out and swung by. Very large fish. Where's Joe when you need him?
I'm the Joe he's referring to, but I'm currently upriver filming another angler. You're on your own here, Steve.
I've landed him right in my prayer tower. I think those prayers work. Hallelujah.
Somehow he gets it done, and his first magnificent trophy of the trip comes to hand.
Well, this is the kind of fish you catch after you build a prayer tower. This is an amazing experience up here in the Arctic Circle for these beautiful sea-run char. This fish is magnificent.
The first thing you realize about getting to the Ekaluk River is that it requires a lot of flying.
Welcome to Canadian North Airlines.
Steve Jensen, Dave Bishop, and myself flew from Salt Lake City, Montreal, and Denver, respectively, to Edmonton, Alberta, where we spent the night. Early the next morning, we start nearly a day's worth of additional flying to get us to camp. Our first stop is Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, which is also the first place where we get a real sense that we're headed into the far north. From Yellowknife, we fly to Kugluktuk, Nunavut, and on to Cambridge Bay on Victoria Island. There we meet our fellow anglers and begin to hear amazing stories about where we are headed.
I write in my notebook here sometimes a slow morning, 25 fish. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
It's unlike anywhere else in the world. I told Jack about 10 years ago, I said, Jack, I said, book me in for life, and if I'm not on the plane, it's because I'm dead. There's no doubt this is the best fly fishing in the world, and it's the best kept secret. Very, very small run, lasts for about 2 weeks, but on its day, it is absolutely a fisherman's wet dream.
Wow,
it's fantastic.
Wow.
Cambridge Bay is a tough little town that endures months of extreme cold and darkness. Driving from the airport to our float plane reveals a fleeting glimpse of a culture both modern and traditional. We have one more flight to go to get to the Ekaluk River.
So who we have? Germany represented, US.
U.S.
Canada.
Canada. Oh, in Quebec.
Dave Bishop confirms the manifest, and our pilot, Wild Bill Brady, throttles up his vintage de Havilland Beaver. We pass over Cambridge Bay one last time and head toward the river. Compasses don't really work this close to magnetic north, and weather is always unpredictable, so bush flying in the Arctic is often a seat-of-the-pants affair. Bill has been doing it for over 40 years and still revels in the surprises every flight brings. In real time, the flight from Cambridge Bay to the Ekaluk takes about half an hour. Sped up, the landscape reveals a mosaic of tundra and water that for 8 months out of the year is locked in snow and ice. The Ekaluk River is only 3 kilometers long, flowing out of Ferguson Lake to Wellington Bay in the Arctic Ocean. As we fly its course, note the tiny figures of anglers along the right bank. These are the rest of our party of 12 who flew up in the first plane ahead of us and who are now already in the river fishing. Camp sits high on a bluff right above Tidewater. There are 7 plywood cabins and a large cook tent. Spartan accommodations at best, but our only creature comfort this far north. We circle around and land just below Home Pool. Our host, Master Guide Jack Ellefson, has us geared up before the propellers stop turning, and he insists that we use very heavy leaders.
Anything less than 20 won't work.
Okay.
25 is probably a good number later.
With only a short time to fish before dinner, Dave is quickly into a nice char and is trying to get control of the fish when he discovers that it has fatally engulfed his fly.
Okay, bring him ashore. We'll take him home.
As seasoned anglers who regularly practice catch and release, the event is at first upsetting, but we'll soon discover that many of these fish will become the very delicious sustenance by which we live.
That's too bad. First fish. First 5 minutes.
Okay, sashimi time in the wilderness. Sashimi is always appreciated. I think I have to taste one while I'm cutting. Should make everyone happy. You can see it's the real McCoy. Mike, open your mouth.
Oh boy.
Open your mouth.
Day 1 ends with a fish feast and a welcome from owner Bill Lyle.
Supper time.
Welcome to our little spot that we really enjoy ourselves here, and hopefully all of you will enjoy yourself. I know you will. Just before we eat, I like to just bless our food. Bless, O Lord, this food to our use and us to thy service, and save us our mind from each of others. Amen. Enjoy.
Just look over here, they're stacked. I've never seen as many fish walking up looking at the gutters. Never seen as many fish, big fish, you know. And they're stacking up like cords of wood.
10th year returning angler Peter Harrison gets everyone pumped up as the sun finally sets just around midnight. After a nocturnal serenade, the next morning dawns snowy and cold. As is his daily custom, Jack checks the waters of Home Pool for new pushes of fish. Up in the muskox cabin, our crew readies for the day, amid the clutter of fishing and filming gear.
Get down and dirty, getting your waders on.
The rustic nature of a fish camp high above the Arctic Circle is endured differently by everyone.
It's certainly nice. This is the Shangri-La hut, but sure beats a tent.
It's a horrible place, was it?
It's a good place.
It's just a horrible place.
You feel better. You feel good leaving it.
Yes.
What are you talking about? The loo?
Oh, it is a horrible place.
Dave in particular is having a bit of a tough morning.
That first day they had the little incense thing burning there.
Oh, they did? I missed that. Oh, we're having some fun now.
Trying to figure out some way that you're going to catch a fish?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I haven't figured it out yet. Well, once. Caught one. While Sir is over there sleeping, you notice that I am rigging him up. I'll tell you, these guys.
But we finally get it together and we join Jack on a tour upriver. We first run into angler Peter Harrison, who gives us a primer on his local flies.
What are they? Like you tie them just for these guys?
Yeah, I tie them.
Little shrimp?
Yeah, shrimp.
Yeah.
If you look into the stomachs of these, they're full of purple shrimps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I do purple ones as well, and these work well, but on dark days.
Right.
I guess dark fly, dark day.
Should the shrimp get up the river though?
Well,
Or
I
they're
don't know.
just keying
I
on
just think it's memory.
Yeah.
You know, it's just memory. They're just straight from the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, they were there yesterday. They're on their way up. And so anything shrimpy. This is my favorite fly. This one. This catches more fish than anything. EP1, English Pete 1. But that was developed here.
Yep.
All you can do is tie and hope. Yeah. But there's nothing like catching a fish on your own fly. I mean, that's what it's all about.
While Steve and Dave hike overland to the top of the river, Jack continues along the shore, giving instruction and encouragement to each angler he meets.
No hookups? I have something that probably could work. It's not very nice, but it's...
As long as it catches fish,
Hey,
it's good for
it's-
me.
Look at that one, Thomas. It's called the Yellow Peril, and I fished that fly here since the year 2000, and it works. Remember, cast and move and cast and move.
German angler and tackle dealer Thomas Durkhoff quickly proves Jack's fly still works with a feisty little char. While further below, Canadian physician Dr. Al Unger lands a terrific fish.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Nice job, Al.
Most of the char we'll catch in the Ekaluk are absolutely spectacular specimens. Thick-bodied and still bright from the sea, they display amazing reserves of powerful energy upon release.
Young fella probably can't fly yet, huh?
There are many great water birds living along the Ekaluk, and Arctic predators are constantly on the prowl for eggs or fledglings. Our young goose needs to keep a watchful eye out. Arctic foxes are very common and have been trapped here for the estimated 30 centuries the Inuits have been known to exist in this area.
So at one time, Joe, this here has been a tent ring. Like I told you before, this river was always extremely important for their fishing, and they fished in August into September, lived in sealskin tents, and the rocks, of course, was to hold down the flaps, the outside of the tent. You'll see that all over the neighborhood. There is more up there, food caches. This is actually a pretty good one.
As Jack and I explore the archaeological evidence of an earlier culture, Another squall of snow blows through, only to be quickly absorbed by sunlight. We meet Steve and Dave walking back downriver. Their efforts up at the headwaters have proved fruitless, and they're now headed to the holy water in between. Upon their arrival, they find British angler and internet entrepreneur Martin Walker already hooked up. This is Martin's second week in a row on the Ekaluk, and his enthusiasm with landing fish is still highly charged, if perhaps a bit unstable. But a bruised bum is a small price to pay for a fish this magnificent on the fly.
Right on!
After seeing Martin's char, Dave is quickly in the water and goes to work as only an Atlantic salmon fishing guide can, pounding out big spay cast and finessing his fly through every fishy spot. The effort soon pays off with a big pull, and Dave does his own dance downstream. Dave is well known on the salmon fishing scene in Quebec, where he is also the Eastern Canadian rep for Hardy Rods and Reels, and he runs a company producing salmon and steelhead flies. This lad knows his anatomous fish, and he simply can't get over the knuckle-busting power of these Ekaluk River char. Traversing patches of Arctic cotton, I leave Dave and Steve for a while and hike across the tundra to a cliff face to try and gain some elevation. I am rewarded by fantastic wildlife along the way, like these sandhill cranes and a spectacular tundra swan. But nothing can prepare me for the two magnificent muskox I find at the base of the cliff. This is a stark yet beautiful environment where nothing grows tall and relics like this ancient Inuit foxtrap still dot the landscape. I reach the top of the cliff and a great view of Ferguson Lake, but the true nature of my hike soon reveals itself in a very noisy fashion. A fledgling peregrine falcon is quite upset at my arrival. I climb above it for a better look, and suddenly out of the sky comes Mama. And she is one unhappy falcon.
Jesus.
This is starting to get serious, and I'm out of there. With all this Arctic wildness, I'm suddenly starting to crave my own human counterparts. I find one of them attached to something very large in the river just above camp. Dave Bishop, who simply never stops giving it 110%, has just hooked into a lake trout well over 40 inches in length.
The size of this laker. Woo! Nice. Oh man. Nice.
Oh! Oh! Oh my God! Just snapped my rod on this huge fish, but I think it had more to do with hitting these big weighted flies on rods will weaken them. It was worth it to hook up this guy. Look at that. Those beautiful, beautiful big fins on these colors. Look at the size of this tail when you splay it out. That's well over 12 inches. Look at that. Just beautiful. A green sheen on it. It's amazing to think in this tundra, this very, very cold, harsh environment, it's very unforgiving that you can have two majestic species like an Arctic char and this great lake trout living in these frigid, frigid waters. They've been here for thousands and thousands of years, supporting the Innu for the years that they've been here. It's just amazing. It's a real privilege to be here, to see this country and to fish these waters.
Yep, it should hopefully be okay.
Second time that he's going to come. They open that stuff.
Caribou roast on a bed of veggies, expensive French wine. That's our supper for tonight.
Cooking for a dozen bottomless appetites, Jack prepares a delicious midweek dinner of wild caribou roast with all the fixings.
What I do, I brown it in a pan, then I smear it in mustard, instant coffee on it, 400 degrees for half an hour, and then 350 for about 2. And this one came out okay.
The resulting feast is highly anticipated by hungry anglers who burn calories by the thousands, fishing for 10 or more hours a day in the Arctic cold.
Bon appetit, gentlemen.
I think this is excellent food. I think that I come here for the food, not for the fishing. I come here just this delicious caribou. Is it caribou? Yes, caribou is actually better than my wife's.
Well, she's a much better looking cook than
The humor is high, but the morale is sinking. Compared to previous years, the fishing has been very slow, and commercial nets at the mouth of the river have everyone concerned. An evening roundtable ensues.
So when these fish are coming in, even though the nets are only on one side, one coast, it does impact them, I think, coming down the shoreline here.
When the nets were here very close in the bottom of the river, the mouth of the river last year, it did. I mean, there was no question. The fish were spooky.
Just shut it down.
Yeah, it shut it down. And always the nets have been above us, and so that doesn't affect us. And so the fish pass us, and then the commercial guys will take what they needed, and obviously they do it well because the fish run is very healthy here. So it's worked very, very well. Last year was different. The nets were right underneath us in the river, and so the fish that managed to get through were spooked. My take on it is simply this, that if you have nets in that are beneath the fisherman, obviously there has to be an effect. It's a question of math. You can't take out 4,500 fish without affecting the fishing above where the nets are. And so the problem is that the sports fishermen and the commercial fishermen are fishing at the same time. It's not a problem if the nets are above the sports fishermen. It's a problem if the nets are down below.
We've seen a great number of char in the river over the past few days, but the bite has been way off. Strange as it may seem, for the past 10 years, anglers have only fished the campsite of the river. Dave asked Peter Harrison what the fishing is like on the opposite shore.
I've never been over the other side.
With owner Bill Lyle's son Willie and grandson Fraser looking on, Peter considers the question.
But maybe for all of these years, this side is the side where the least fish come in. On that side, my God, we should build a lodge.
I know two things for sure. Steve and Dave will be on the other side of the river first thing in the morning, and I'm going to pay a visit to the commercial fishing camp below us. I'm on a small island at the mouth of the Ekaluk River, where for 2 short weeks a year a group of native Inuits set up a commercial fishing camp for Arctic char. I've convinced them to let me come along as they check one of their nets. Historically, this camp has been situated 3 kilometers upriver at the outflow of Ferguson Lake. For the last 2 years, however, the commercial fishermen have set their nets at the mouth of the Ekaluk, below Jackson Bill's sport fishing camp, and our group of anglers is convinced it's having a horrible impact on the fishing. Within a few minutes of pulling nets, I can certainly see why they might be worried, but as the day goes on, I begin to think differently. The haul is huge, and for these young commercial fishermen, it's money in the bank. A big fresh fish out of the mouth of the Ekaluk River nets them about $20. By the time it makes its way to the tables of America's gourmet restaurants, a 7-ounce wild Arctic char fillet can cost anywhere from $30 to $70 on the menu. And what is wrong with that? Nothing, actually. In fact, from the standpoint of preserving traditional fisheries in an environmentally sustainable manner, it's all quite good. Most char that you find for sale are farm-raised, and in many instances represent everything that is wrong with industrialized aquaculture. Truly wild Arctic char have only recently made their way onto the world culinary stage as a premium product produced from an artisan fishery, a movement now being championed by enlightened fishmongers, chefs, and consumers worldwide. Native peoples have been harvesting Ekaluk char for centuries. Surely there is room for both a commercial and a sport fishing camp to utilize this rich natural resource. And what effect does responsible harvesting really have on the recreational fishing anyway? The commercial quota for the Ekaluk River camp was 30,000 pounds this year, or about 4,500 fish. Sure, that might sound and look like a lot of fish being harvested, but it's a small percentage of the entire run that migrates up the Ekaluk each fall into 75-mile-long Ferguson Lake. During the short season, float planes fly round the clock, transporting char back to the processing plant in Cambridge Bay. While today's catch awaits preparation, yesterday's fish is on the dock, iced down and ready to go.
Gotta make a seat for me.
Who's gonna have a seat on the box, you see?
In less than an hour, these same red crates of fish will be at the Kitikmeot Foods processing plant in Cambridge Bay. There they will go through a final cleaning before being sold as fresh and frozen whole fish, vacuum-packed steaks, cold-smoked fillets, and char jerky. Biological data is collected from a sampling of 200 fish caught on the Ekaluk each year. Fin, scale, and otolith samples are taken to determine the run's average age and health.
This is what they use to tell the age of the fish.
This information is then used to set sustainable harvest quotas for the future. Commercial fishing is hard work, and once one plane is loaded, a new catch of fish must be cleaned, sorted, and iced for the next intrepid bush pilot, bent on making a large percentage of his annual salary during these few halcyon days of autumn. My fishing buddy Johnny has been extolling the virtues of fresh char liver all morning. I couldn't quite get there. It's only midday, but the guys are getting tired, and will soon slip out of their fishing gear for an afternoon nap. The final task is dumping the fish entrails into the mouth of the river, where a healthy population of some of the largest seagulls in the world ensures that the cleanup will be quick.
This is what we eat. Nothing goes to waste. We're gonna cook this later on for supper.
You cooked the head?
Yep. Well, we had the tongue yesterday with some ribs, which was very good.
Ever the gourmand, Johnny invites me back to his shack for a parting taste of native cuisine.
Oh yeah, man.
Later that afternoon, I hike back up the wrong side of the river, where just as I expected, I find Steve and Dave. It's been a slow morning, but Dave is starting to get some action. There are definitely fish on this side of the Ekaluk, and for all we know, they have never seen an artificial fly.
They're on the bite, man. They're on the bite now. Fish on. Feels like a decent fish, too.
Could this be one of those truly trophy-sized char we've been hearing so much about?
Hey, it's a nice fish. Look at that thing just taking out line. Yee-hoo. Yippee! Look at that. Ooh, that's a nice fish. I'm gonna have to run after this thing. Holy shit. Oh my God. This is kicking my ass into the backing. And backing and backing and backing and backing.
Dave Bishop has been a fishing guide in eastern Canada for nearly 30 years. He's an Atlantic salmon expert, but he's new to Arctic char, and he's suddenly finding the experience a bit shocking. While other anglers watch from the traditional right bank, Dave finds himself sprinting downriver.
This thing went from being 100 feet away from me to 100 yards in about 6 seconds. Big, big fish. This is a nice fish.
It can't be denied that something has impacted the fishing in the Ekaluk this season, at least in comparison to earlier years. But when you finally hook a fish like the one Dave is battling, it's hard to be anything but enthused about this remarkable fishery. It's up to Jack and Bill and the Inuits in the fishing camp below to work out a viable shared resource plan that satisfies both their needs in preserving the traditional culture of an indigenous people.
I've been reeling for the last 20 seconds and it's all backing.
While providing superb recreational angling and genuine adventure for others.
Down to the running line now. That fish is about 150 feet away from me now. Wow. What a run. What a run. Keep him up out of these boulders so they didn't cut me off. Oh, he's long time. Look how big, look at the size of that fish. Oh, baby. He's not done yet either. Oh, look at the tail on that. All right. Oh, look at that fish. Look at that beautiful fish. Oh, baby. Caught steelhead and salmon, but these things, pound for pound, no comparison. And I hate to say that as a salmon guide, but that's the way it is. All right, you can grab them right there. Hang on, I want to get around that boulder. Look at the size of that thing. Grab them, grab them, grab them. Oh, man. Oh, man. Woo! Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby. Got her done. Char of a lifetime. Unbelievable. Great, great fight. What a majestic fish.
Unfortunately, Dave's big fish couldn't be revived, and it would become part of the camp's larder.
Wow.
Let me get a snapshot of you.
Good?
Oh, that's an awesome.
After spending the rest of the afternoon fishing the top section of the river, Dave made his way down and ran into a strange and beautiful sculpture. How could he know that Steve had built this prayer tower hours earlier to successfully summon the Inuit fish gods? He was even more confused to now find Steve sitting just below his tower in obvious distress. An errant cast had lodged a big weighted fly deep in his hand.
Don't know if Mike crimped the barb down. Mike made this.
most likely that he trims almost all his barbs down.
That's what I was hoping he did.
It's in the bone, isn't it? It's hitting the bone?
Yeah.
It's hitting the bone.
Right in the knuckle. Right up here.
Doesn't have a barb, you're gonna get it out.
It's not sliding.
Ay, ay, ay. All right, let's go.
Big Char in one hand, Big Char fly in the other. Dave and Steve hike back to the rendezvous point for pickup.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Steve describes building his prayer tower to Dave, who is duly impressed.
No idea when you're running around.
Hi guys.
Hello. Hey.
Had a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a couple of them.
We had to kill the fish because he took it down into the gills.
It's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at this one, little fella.
As big as you. Yeah.
The German Thomas caught a 38-inch fish. And Steve caught himself.
Yeah, Steve caught
Look at
himself
his
in the hand.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's in the knuckle.
Okay, we shall operate.
Oh, jeez.
And operate we did. Fortunately for Steve, Dr. Al had a full medical kit along, or this might have been a lot more painful.
I get that point through there now, and we'll try and cut it off.
Okay. Doing okay.
Still got a little barb on it. There we go. Nobody's eyes got it. Okay, here we go.
There we go. Good job.
A little hemorrhage there. Where's my gauze?
Pressure on it.
You know, I built that little prayer tower over there, and the next cast caught that big fish. And then I come up, and my last cast was right at the prayer tower, and
the gods give it, and the gods take it away.
They're keeping me humble, aren't they?
Yeah. You gotta love a fishing camp where you can read past clients' testimonials as cabin graffiti right on the walls. This is just part of the remote Arctic ethos and diverse angling community created by Jack Ellefson, who is the force that keeps the Ekaluk camp clicking. Here he describes how it all began.
I met Bill in 1984. I was radio officer expedition leader on the Lindblad Explorer. Cruise ship came through the Northwest Passage. That's how I met Bill. And I was walking up and down the river for days on end and casting. Never caught a fish. Of course, the run wasn't done yet. And one day the whole river exploded, and I thought I had gone to heaven instantly. And I said to Bill, this is unique. And Bill took my word, and that was actually the beginning. It's a fantastic place. It's a fantastic place, and I come here to recharge my batteries.
But if Jack is the heart of the Ekaluk camp, Bill is the soul. A quiet and spiritual man, he tells me the story of his dying mother's last words of wisdom.
She said to us as children when we were gathered just before she passed on, and she told us that we only know two things that really happened to us in life. And she said we're born for sure and we're going to leave again. But what's in between those two, you have to make those as good as you can for you and your fellow people around you. Hopefully that I live by that, and the people that I bring here, that come here to share it with us, are, having a good time, and hopefully they bring back good memories and stories back to their family.
Bill's wife Jessie champions Inuit culture while raising children and grandchildren in a modern world. Here she cooks bannock in their tiny cabin before heading outside to prepare Dave's char into traditional dry fish.
That's a big fish. There.
Yeah, I'll wash it for you, see.
That's heavy.
Dry fish has been made by the Inuits for thousands of years and is still a staple food for many folks living this far north in the Arctic. It is prepared in an ancient ritual which ensures respect for the fish and future success for the fisher.
It's important we hang the fish with the skin side out first, and also that the fish is facing the direction where it was swimming. That's supposed to mean good luck. These fish have been hanging here for a few days, ready to be turned over. There we go. And here are two fish. They are ready to go. Partly dried, fairly elastic. So the way we eat them, we throw them, we put them on the kitchen table like this with a salt shaker and a sharp knife. And everyone takes a bite, cuts off a piece. Fish, little salt on it. And of course, yes, it's good tea to go with it.
Jessie's good tea is just one more example of living off the land. Out on the tundra, she collects sweet-smelling heather, which she burns to create smoke to flavor her tea water. The end result is Arctic ambrosia.
It's God's gift to man. Cup of tea like this.
Perhaps so. But God's real gift to those who search for wild fish in wild waters are the amazing Arctic char of the Ekaluk.
Didn't have a whole lot of time to fish myself, but got a chance to catch one of these absolute spectacular sea run Arctic char. Nice, beautiful fish. I'm gonna let him go.
Wild on the fly.